What is going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Critical Overlord here. We're going to be talking about Final Destination in this video here today. So the news just keeps on getting better today. We found out that Cruel Intentions is coming back for a third season with Olivia Holt returning, going back to the roots of the first season. We see Weapons still getting all this praise. And now we have confirmation that Final Destination 7 is officially in the works. Shout out to you, Ann, for sending the link my way. If you're listening to this, thank you very much. But the Hollywood Reporter put out this report, so we're going to go over this report. I'll give my thoughts on it, and I'll also address some things going on HBO Max's TikTok that pertain to AJ Cook and why I think this is signs that we should expect Kimberly to be involved with this upcoming 7th film. But New Line has no intention of trying to stop death, as the report starts. In fact, it's inviting even more. The Warner Bros. Division is moving forward with a follow-up to its horror hit, Final Destination Bloodlines, hiring that movie's co-writer Laurie Evans Taylor to pen the next installment. The hiring comes after Bloodlines, released in May, grossed over $286 million at the worldwide box office, $138 million of that domestically. That movie was the 6th installment of the horror franchise and the first one since 2011. It was by far the most successful outing of the movie series, with its domestic total more than double the next movie down, 2009's The Final Destination. Taylor was a key player in the script, which is co-written with Guy Busick from a story by Taylor, Busick, and Jon Watts, who we know has heavily been involved with the recent Spider-Man movies, I think. But this should come as no surprise. Warner Brothers has been killing it this year when it comes to their horror releases. The most recent one, of course, is Weapons. Check that out in theaters if you haven't already. But then you had Sinners. Then you had Final Destination Bloodlines after Sinners. Despite what I think about Bloodlines, it was a hit. It was a hit. There's no denying that. Subjectively, I can still think it's the second worst entry, and I'll stand by that. But financially, critically, and with the audience, it was a hit. Something that still baffles me, but that's the reality. We're not going to run away from reality. A lot of you loved Final Destination Bloodlines. I wish I was one of them. You guys know how I felt about the movie if you listened to my review, so I don't really want to spend too much time talking about it. But I will say that going into Final Destination 7, I just hope that they lean a bit more into being serious. Give some more legitimacy and credibility to the entity that is death, and just time the humor a bit more. Humor's always been present in this series, but I just felt that a lot of times during Bloodlines, it was timed poorly. That, and I felt as though the family aspect could have been written a bit better. Stefani, I feel like, was a very lackluster protagonist to have leading the film. Felt like her grandmother was a bit more fitting, but I digress. Going into AJ Cook. AJ Cook has been popping up a lot recently on the HBO Max TikTok, and it's got me going, hey, now that the film's been announced, maybe there is something to her recent appearances on those TikTok videos. All of the appearances seem to be tied to Final Destination Bloodlines. So it's like, why are you guys using her so much? What are you trying to tell us? I'll try to leave a link to the videos in the description. Actually, I won't leave a link to it. Just go on HBO Max and go to their TikTok page. You'll see AJ Cook's videos. They're very recent. Just start scrolling. But yeah, in these videos, they all seem to be related to Final Destination. And it got me thinking there must be something to this. Now, in the report today, no mention of AJ Cook coming back as Kimberly. But we know that in Bloodlines, they did confirm to us that Kimberly is the only survivor, indicating that I would assume Burke died. But we also know that there were plans for Kimberly to originally appear physically on screen. She was supposed to walk out of the shadows or something to that effect when they went to go visit Bloodworth. Why she was there, I don't know. But they felt it ultimately didn't fit well into the story, and they got rid of it. And a decision I'm glad they did, because I would have probably taken issue with that appearance. That appearance probably would have ended up feeling very forced and just you trying to appeal to nostalgia for whatever reason. Come up with something of quality for Kimberly and use her if you must. I myself, and many of you I know, would prefer that they just leave Kimberly alone. But there's probably someone above the writer who has the final say in what the writer should end up writing into their screenplay. And I'm betting one of those directions that are being given to the lower creators, like a writer, is write up a story that involves Kimberly or else. So I expect we are going to see Kimberly return in some capacity. What that looks like, I don't know, but I've theorized in the past. I think this was my last solo video about this IP, where I mentioned maybe you could reheat that first responder story, but make it about Kimberly, who has gone on to become a first responder. Maybe she's followed in her boyfriend's footsteps, or her husband if they got married, and now she's an officer, or she could be an EMT, something along the lines of just being a first responder. And you could tell a story in which Kimberly's actions on a fateful night involving her line of work had she had made a different decision, wouldn't have caused hundreds of people to die in a tragedy days later because of an individual that she could have stopped who ended up going on to cause this new premonition. She doesn't even have to be the one having the premonition. You can give that to somebody else. I'd prefer Kimberly not be the one that has the premonition. I'd prefer an angle in which Kimberly gets involved out of guilt because of the fact that she's blaming herself because she recognizes that someone involved in this tragedy, this premonition that kills hundreds of people, probably wouldn't have caused said tragedy if she had performed differently on a previous date in her line of work, where she let someone get away who probably shouldn't have gotten away. I'd like to see something like that. And now you have to juggle this thought of, is she going to do what's right or wrong? But ultimately, I prefer you just leave her alone. But if you're going to use her, I'd love if you could find a way to reheat that first responder story, because I can argue I probably would have preferred to see that over what they just did with Bloodlines. I prefer to see that first responder story in some capacity. So if you can cook something up there and throw Kimberly into the mix, I'll be a happy camper. But you don't have to do that. You can concoct a whole new narrative, do that cruise ship disaster that many of us have been clamoring to see. Not all of us, but if there's some other disaster you've been clamoring for, let me know what you would like to see in Final Destination 7 down in the comment section below, because all I can think of is that boat disaster that people keep talking about, and I'm not opposed to it either. I would prefer Kimberly just go off into the sunset, be a legend that has beaten death. Don't turn her into the Tony Todd of the universe. Don't need to do that, even though I know people would argue, yeah, do that. Anything to see AJ cook, I get that people would be down for it. But that's not just how you should use characters. Use them in a way that makes sense and gives them something to do. Don't just bring them in for the sake of me smiling. Yes, I'll get a crack out of seeing them again, and yes, I probably will smile, but that doesn't mean that that's a reason for you to then go ahead and keep doing that with certain characters in all of these different franchises. Stop doing that. Bring them back when you have something for them to do. If you have something for Kimberly to do, despite me preferring she stay gone, I'm down for it. I don't know how they outdo that tower collapse. That's my thing. I think the tower collapse is one of the best things we've gotten since since Final Destination 3. I think that's a fair assessment. I think that's the best thing since Final Destination 3. I'm curious to see how they outdo themselves. And if you don't do the boating incident or the cruise incident, what angle would you take? Would you do the tunnel collapse? Because originally they were supposed to be a tunnel collapse in Final Destination 6. That's what was included in the first responder story. So I'm really interested in seeing what they reheat, what they borrow from when it comes to that first responder story. If they do that, or if they just say, let's come up with something new, get Kimberly back. Here you guys go. New Final Destination. But you guys let me know what you think about all this down in the comment section below. If you haven't already, of course, make sure you subscribe, turn on post notifications, your name is video. In the description, I have links to all my social media accounts. I am on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. You can message me there, of course. Let me know if there are any movies, news, or reviews you'd like me to cover in the future. And with all that in mind, guys, I will see you in the next video.